Well, good evening, everybody. We are so very happy that you have decided to join us for our first ever debut episode of Soul Sessions. As you already know, or I hope you know, if you don't know, my name is Minister Ahmad Randall. I am the host of Thrive Fellowship, and to my left, or to your right, I have Sister Tori Horton, who is one of our praise and worship team members here at Thrive Fellowship. And she's an all-around servant because anything that I ask her to do here at Thrive, she obliges to. That's just the anointing in her life. You feel me? And to the right of me, I have my sister, who is also our administrator, who handles all of the background stuff for Thrive Fellowship. Again, any harebrained scheme that I have for Thrive, Nia assists me in, and I am so very excited to have them both here again for our first episode of our new podcast, Soul Sessions. So the reason we decided to do this was because we felt as though that we needed to have some discussions surrounding faith, life, relationships, and all those things in between. Because people can hear a sermon on Sunday and have no idea what I just said, have no idea what the speaker just said, have no idea what Bishop has just said, and then they're trying to figure out how to apply it to their lives. So when they hear it from someone else, especially from the person who preached it, they're better able to apply it to their lives, their relationships, their finances, their health life, all those things in between. So that is why we have decided to do this podcast. So on Sunday, I had a privilege of speaking about coming out of your cave. And I came from 1 Samuel chapter 22, verse 1. And I talked about how David was depressed, he was distressed, he was discontent. He was all around just in a bad mental space. So in order to find some relief and to find some refuge, he decided to run into the cave of Adullam and hide. And there in the cave of Adullam, his family joins him, and then 400 men who are also discontent, who are also depressed, who are also distressed, they join him in the cave in order to help him overcome the same things they are feeling. So he finds community inside the cave. And then last but not least, he finds confidence in God's word, right? So the prophet Gad comes to him and says, hey man, you can't stay in this cave forever. You got to eventually go back to the thing that you ran from. And that is pretty much all of our lives. We are always finding ourselves in a position where we are afraid to pursue and chase after the things that we are afraid of. So whether it be our finances are getting us into a cave, our relationships are getting us to a cave, church is getting us into a cave, but eventually the word reminds us we got to fight back. We cannot run away from that which we are afraid of. Eventually, we're going to have to fight back. So we're going to start with Nia first. What was your thoughts, your comments, whatever you felt about Sunday's sermon?
Well, I think the part that stuck with me most is you said something about, you don't have to make everything so spiritual because life is hard. And I think through the week, just thinking about that, I think that's true. Every time you go through a situation, you always want to put this deep spiritual meaning towards it. You want to, God is testing me or the enemy is trying me, and sometimes that's not it. It's just, we're all experiencing life, and life is full of challenges, and I think sometimes just stepping away from super spiritualizing things will help you stay grounded in the reality of, like, this is a problem that you can fix with some actual, energy if you put towards it.
Right.
But that's fine. Here we go. I kind of agree with that, but also in a way that sometimes we look at the cave as a bad thing. We look at it as, like you just said, we kind of over spiritualize it, like God is taking it something. And it can be that sometimes. Sometimes life can just be hard, but sometimes God isolates you and he'll put you in that cave to move you to the next, move you to the next step. And a lot of times we don't realize that because we're so heavily into our depression, or we're so heavily into our anxiety or our nervousness or whatever is going on. We're too worried thinking about it that sometimes we don't think that, maybe this is just a test and let God handle it. And we try to move into that whole,
true.
you know, okay, well, I could do it. I could fix this. This ain't nothing. And sometimes you really can. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like you just got to make slight, subtle changes to like your daily schedule or something like that. But it's most of the time, well, for me personally, I could kind of, sometimes you can kind of feel a shift coming, but you don't know if that shift is good, it's going to be for good or if it's going to be for bad. So you get into those cave moments, and it's like, it comes with it. And I'm mad you just said that, because now it's like that whole don't let fear guide you, because it becomes that fear of, and this is an honesty moment, and even though people are probably not going to like what I'm going to say it anyways.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, sometimes it does come down to, God, is this really you, or is this one of those life moments?
Yeah.
You start to question your faith, or you start to question if I can handle this by myself. But sometimes it could be those small things that you think you can handle by yourself, that God is like, well, I was just waiting for you to put it in my hands to kind of release it.
But on the other hand, how I handle it is when I'm going through like a life moment, or even, this is God telling me to do something, move a certain way. I put a little bit of it on myself, because, the scripture says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So I know if I'm moving with God with me. So, sometimes I do have to, get up and go do something, because that's what God is asking me to do. I know that he is moving me in a certain direction, but the direction is get up and do it. It's, it's not like I'm putting this in your hands, but what does that look like? You have to do it,
Right.
It's an action. Giving it to God is an action. It's not just, okay, I'm going to stop thinking about this because God is going to handle it. No, God is going to handle it, but what do you have to do?
Faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
Right, and that reminds me of a quote that one of my favorite preachers ever said: "Stop putting things in God's hands and then going to check on it." Like stop dropping it in there. Like, okay, all right, did you handle that yet? Like I'm still broke. Did you handle that yet? Oh, my rent ain't paid. Did you handle that? Like, bruh, you see me down here struggling.
Right,
I thought I could have swore I gave that to you to take care of.
You heard me last night, God. I said, I need this. I need you. And this morning, what I gotta do?
Right. Or better yet, you like, God, I need you, and then you let my car get towed. You let me have like a ticket on my
I've been there.
Like, bro,
been there.
And so therefore you like, man, it's a difference between God doing something immediately and then suddenly, right? So, or even better yet, eventually, right? And a lot of us don't like the eventually. We like the suddenly, we like the immediately, but we don't like the eventually.
Impatient.
And that's where David was, right? So David was anointed to be king in 1 Samuel 16 and didn't become king until 2 Samuel chapter 5. Saul was trying to kill him. He lost his best friend. He lost his wife. He lost his career. He lost his reputation. So then it's like, I thought you told me I was going to have X, Y, and Z. Right. And I'm going to have to wait eventually for it and not immediately. Right. That's where our faith begins to get a little rocky, right? So in our cave moments, right, there's a certain level of ability to show up for yourself, right? Like, let's talk about that, right? So I didn't mention it on Sunday, but David took care of his parents before he went to go fight Saul. Like the text says, he took his parents, to a friend's house, to a brother's house, said, yo, watch them, because I got to go take care of something. You know how hard it is to show up for other people, and you don't want to show up for yourself while you're in the cave? You got to literally get up and get the energy. You got to get up and get the energy to show up and do things for other people. We don't even want to do things for yourself. Like that.
And that was going to be my next question. How do you get out of those type of moments? Those cave moments, you know what I mean? Those cave moments where you feeling like you too overwhelmed. You too, that you can't, because sometimes it does get to a point where you're too, if you're the, how can I put this? David was more so a giver. He was more so of a pleaser. He wanted others around him to be well. He wanted to be in a good situation before he then went and worked on himself. And 9 times out of 10, that happens to a lot of people.
Right.
Especially those that we do always see that are givers. Okay, I got to make sure mom and dad's straight. I got to make sure such and such is straight. I got to make sure, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say this to me. We kind of put ourselves last. Sometimes that sends us into a cave moment.
But I think part of it is it's easier to show up for other people because to show up for yourself, you have to be accountable for all of the things that you're refusing to acknowledge, the things that
Right.
are hurting you, the things that are stressing you out. You know, you're kind of putting them to the side. So it's easy. Oh, you need me to do this? I got you. You need me to do that? I got you.
yeah.
But when you need yourself to do stuff for you, but you're not asking yourself what you need, you're not showing up for yourself in that way because it's easier to get everything done for everyone around you.
Right. And I've been there personally, right? My father died last year, and you think like, oh, when somebody dies, especially like a parent or someone whose funeral arrangements you are now responsible for, you're like, he just died. I gotta now do something else on top of this. Like I gotta now prepare something else on top of this grief. I'm already like, now I gotta grieve, but I also gotta work. I gotta be disappointed, but now I gotta work. I gotta be sad, but now I gotta do what I gotta do. Or better yet, coming in here, I'm sad, but I gotta preach this eulogy. I'm sad, but I gotta go to preach on Sunday at this church. I'm sad, but man, I gotta go to work on Monday. Like you showing up for everybody else, and then you are never giving yourself an opportunity to like, I'm not gonna say enjoy your cave, but be in the cave. Like you never give yourself an opportunity to be like, okay, I'm in the cave, and now it's just me and God. We never take that opportunity to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to sit in here and I'm going to be with God. And we never give ourselves the opportunity because we are afraid to be vulnerable to those where we need to be strong for.
Yeah. And sometimes it comes down to you do so well for others because, like you just said, you're not ready. Sometimes you are just not ready to open those most vulnerable parts with you because when you sit down and finally have that conversation with God, oh, he's about to tear you a new one. He's about to read you for the filth that you are.
Most definitely.
And it's like, am I really, like, sometimes it comes down to am I really ready for that as a person? Right. Am I ready for that in my spiritual growth? Because sometimes we get complacent in that cave and it's like, I'm fine here. I'm comfortable making sure everybody else is good and nobody, kind of just leave me. I deal with it when I when I get ready to. And it's kind of like circling back around to that word. This word has been circling me for a long time, all year. Fear. It comes back to that.
Right.
That fear that we have of being vulnerable with ourselves, being getting that how am I trying to put this? Getting into that intimate space with God. Because that's what happens in the cave. You know what I'm saying? When you are going through those heavy moments, a lot of times, because before the community got there, David was by himself.
Right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of times before you can get to that point where your community surrounds you and you're finally able to reach out to those people, they say the first step is acceptance. You got to accept yourself. God had already accepted you, flaws and all, but are you ready to accept the baggage that, you know what I'm saying, you have and ready to open up, I guess you could say, Pandora's box in a way to.
Right.
But when you think about it like that, we're talking now like David prepared stuff for his family before he went into a cave. I feel like a lot of us are in that space where we're afraid to even go into the cave. So we're just preparing stuff for the people around us. We're just doing stuff because we know once we stop doing that, we have to go be with God. We have to. So we're not even having our cave experience, which I would say is transformative, is something that we need, but we're refusing to go to the cave because it's scary. We're going to be by ourselves. It's dark. You were saying something about, going into the cave could be compared to going to rock bottom. And sometimes you have to do that, whether, you're in a career that you don't like and, you done spent all your money going to college and, doing all your certifications and stuff, and you want to start over. And starting over for a lot of people feels like rock bottom, but you don't want to go in the cave. So you're going to stay in this space where I'm not happy with my job, but I'm going to keep doing it because it's scary over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like a lot of people are in that.
Right.
I'm not going in the cave. I'm not having that experience with God because I don't really want to.
If I don't have to be there, why would I go?
Exactly.
Right. And you also got to think about like the fact that I kind of shaped the sermon around mental health, right? It's just a conversation that's not held much in Black church, right? Because unfortunately, in the Black community and Black church, mental health has been seen as a weakness, and like, you know what? You don't have no strong faith if you depressed. you ain't got no strong faith if you anxious. You know, and nobody thinks about the fact there are plenty of people in the Bible who struggle with mental health. And God never once made them feel like they were less than because they struggled with their mental health. And it's important, like I said on Sunday, it's important that you have a therapist and a pastor.
Right.
Your pastor can only take you so far, and your therapist can only take you so far. Because at the end of the day, in order to be an emotionally healthy person, both of those components has to be present in a person's life. They have to be present in a person's life. And if they're not, you're gonna find a person who, as I said, super spiritualizes everything, but never has any practical tips for how they're gonna make it out of what they're dealing with.
And I think a lot of that is really, it's not necessarily rooted in like, I want to be strong because I'm a Christian. I think a lot of it is also cultural because as Black people, we don't necessarily have the luxury to go to therapy. That's something that really we haven't historically been able to engage in. You know,
Right.
your mental health, okay, you're lucky if you even go to the doctor, let alone go to the therapist. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
You know, so like you're too busy taking care of, you know, your bills, your this, your that. And therapy, it is expensive, but I feel like once you find a person who can understand the struggles that you're going through, it makes life just so much easier because you can unburden yourself with someone who is not gonna, you know, super spiritualize something
Right.
or like, you know, judge you based on your past history. You know, when you're talking to your friends, or like, but didn't you do this? Didn't you do that?
That neutral ground.
Exactly.
That neutral ground, that's a big one. And also that up until like maybe you could say like a few years ago, there wasn't even a lot of Black therapists.
Exactly.
right.
So a lot of Black people or, you know, Black church people, they will go talk to people that have no understanding of what that cultural experience
Exactly.
is like. You definitely got to have somebody that's relatable, when somebody that can kind of understand. They might not be able to comprehend everything, but
Yeah.
I kind of got a good idea. I mean, I could kind of say all Black households wasn't the same, but
Yeah. We have
I
a lot
guarantee
of
we
intersections.
Right, right.
we all had some type of dealings like, oh yeah, my grandmama used to do that, my mom used to do that.
Right,
So
right.
to have somebody that understands that is actually it's a relief
Yeah.
when you do finally take that step and go to therapy and go to that vulnerable place and work on yourself. It's a relief to be like, okay, you know what, somebody kind of get it.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you could talk to your friends, you could talk to your family, but they were there 9
Right.
times out of 10 when that stuff happened. So yeah, they get it, but
They have their own perspective
Right.
of the
exactly, it
situations.
happened a different way for them than it happened
Exactly.
for you. So
Yeah.
they're gonna give you kind of like, well, when my mom felt, well, it didn't happen like that. It happened like this. Well, it may have happened like that for you. And if my mom watching, I'm sorry, I'm telling the people on you, but it may have happened like that for you. But it
Yeah.
was a different experience.
Right.
You need someone to validate your experiences.
Exactly.
Right.
And somebody to tell you that, you know what, you all right.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to, most times, and what happens in the Black community is somebody will try to tell you how your story is supposed to be.
Exactly.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Instead of just sitting there listening and trying to comprehend, they'll tell you, oh, no, that ain't how it's supposed to. How you gonna tell me? You know
And
what I
then
mean?
always, instead of just giving you space to speak, oh, God has something coming for
Oh
you.
yeah, no, yeah. Don't tell me that.
And sometimes you
do
be
you
in
see
that
me
phase,
crying
like,
right now? do you see me in tears? You
Did I
gonna say
not just put my whole life on the table and like you
Right.
trying to tell me
Right.
Hey, what I want to hear right now. You know what I mean?
and then also, you know, it's also hard to speak to people who like are in a personal relationship with you and try to find practical, because then they'd be like, you know, when you're talking about especially relationship advice, you're like, then you just go back to that ex who was bad for you. I was in a bad place at the time. Can you not help me? But no, because you need someone to give you some practical tips, some practical methods in order for you to do better in life.
But I will say, just as you try out different churches, do not be discouraged to try out different therapists.
Correct.
Because I had a therapist and I was going through a nasty breakup, and she was, every time I'd come every week to the session, be like, okay, what happened now? I'm like, my life is not
She was trying to get the tea from you.
my life.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm like trying to move on from this situation, and she's like, did anything else happen? Like, did he text you? Like, did he call
she
you?
wanna know
I'm like, you need to
everything.
stay out
Tell
of
me
my business, ma'am.
She's kind of like, yeah, so let me tell y'all, I'm going to tell y'all what happened today.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, you're trying to update my story with yours.
Also, don't be like me in therapy. because I was very closed off when I first went.
Yeah, me too.
So I told the lady was like, "So what's going on with you?" And I was like, "So what's going on with you?"
Right.
And
How are you?
You're paying me. Don't talk to
How
me.
you been? Oh, I've
She
been
would,
good.
she would
How are
say,
you been?
she would say, "Tell me about your family." I said, "What about your family?
Yeah.
Don't be coming here asking me about my business."
No, yeah, it's scary. It's scary. I remember my first session was I went to therapy my first time I was in college, and at that point it was like a really really bad spot in my life. I just got my first car, crashed it.
Oh.
Like
Ooh.
really really bad accident, like could have took me out accident.
Wow.
And at that point it was just like school going, my grades terrible, going down the drain. I wasn't going to class. It was just like kind of like a out of body experience, if I really can say that. Like it was like I was there, but I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I was making sure everybody else around me was okay.
Yeah.
Until finally, and it's crazy because as a social work major at the time, I knew that wasn't okay. Like it's like I know that these things aren't okay, but I wasn't ready to step into that place to really be vulnerable and be intimate with myself
Right.
and with God, to be like, okay, you know what, something is wrong. I'm gonna
Yeah.
just brush it under the rug. I'll be
Right.
good. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just another mountain I got to get over. And it took for me to go to therapy. And the first time I went, I was in there like, okay, what am I here for? Like, hi,
Yeah.
how are you? Oh, I'm good. No, how are you doing?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I was kind of trying to blow it up. Oh yeah, I just got into an accident a couple days ago.
Right.
Like, got a whole neck brace on. I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like, and I know she probably was like, yo,
You don't
this
look
girl,
okay.
probably like, this girl is nuts. Like, what is going on? But it happened to me like a epiphany. I was in class one day, and I'll never forget Professor Mendola. I'll never forget her name. And she was teaching a lesson. It was social and economics, social and emotional economics. And she was teaching us, about just teaching us about the ways that to help different people that come into your office. You know what I mean? Like if somebody come into your office, okay, that their scenario is gonna be different. And I was literally in the back of the class, and I kind of like put my hand up. I said, "Can I ask you a question?" And she was like, "Yeah, go ahead." I was like, "This is completely off topic." I said, "How do you try to help someone else? Like when your career and your profession," and at that point it was rock bottom for me. I'm like, how can I sit here and try to tell somebody else what they should do with their life when I'm like I'm struggling to do what I got to do for myself?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And especially working in a field like that. Well, I mean, every job you bring your work home. You leave your work at work. Sometimes it's hard to, especially working in that type of field. It's
Yeah.
like, how do I tell a family that this is what you need to do this, and this? But then I go home and behind closed doors, I'm a complete mess.
Yeah.
And she was like, what is she said, I'll never forget. She said, "You want to know what?" She was like, "That's a question I ask myself every day."
Wow.
She was like, "But the best thing you could do is go talk to somebody about it."
Yeah.
And after that, I went to therapy and started taking it serious.
Wow.
And that's what it takes. That question, that question, how do you help somebody when you can't help
you
yourself?
can't help
That's a
yourself.
question that I promise you that and also if you have a pastor, clap your hands for your pastor, because that right there is stuff right there that they go through every day. Let me tell let me tell you that is like the most difficult thing I ever had to, like, up until my father dying. I was dealing with regular young kid stuff.
Yeah.
When he died, I felt like I immediately became an adult, even though I was like 22 at the time.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm officially an adult now, because now life just took on a whole, like, I gotta get up and preach. I gotta show up to work, and I'm grieving and I'm sad. So I gotta find a way to be good for other people, and I'm not good for myself. Yeah. And like that was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And then after that, my grandmother died, and so it was just one hit after a hit after a hit.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, how can I manage? And ironically, the month before Thrive started, my grandmother died. And I was like, I have no idea how I'm about to, take on this new thing and be, a voice of, I don't want to say spiritual authority, but a voice of spiritual guidance for someone else. And I'm stuck in a rut. Yeah. But it took for me to know that there is someone I can talk to. I can go to a therapist. Yeah. I can go to somebody. I can have some conversation, because if I'm not well, I know that the people who I'm preaching to, the people who I'm talking to, the people who I'm trying to help, they won't be well either.
Right.
So if I'm not well, nothing I put my hands on will be well either. And that took for me to learn when I saw things starting to crumble. When I saw like little stuff starting to come. When there are certain things I would never do here at my job, or I would never let slip. I would never misspell things on a graphic. And I'm about me, like I would never like mistakenly put the wrong color up. And I was doing all those things because I realized I was not well.
Right.
It's kind of just operating like a machine.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I was.
Not able to pay attention.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can still do it, but I'm not doing it with care.
Right.
I'm not doing
Yeah.
it with, the love that I usually do it with.
Right.
Because
Like I would come into church on Sunday and just be like I was just operating a routine. My creativity was down, and I was like, something has to give because this is not going to work if I'm always like this.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the
And
hard part.
I feel like that's kind of where David was, right? That's why David went into the cave. He was like, you know what, this is it for me, right?
Yeah.
I thoroughly believe that if the prophet didn't come and say to David, you have to leave, he probably like, this is good for me right here.
Yeah.
I got my family, I got 400 men who rocking with me, I'm straight.
I don't need nothing else.
But I think that insight is important because it's like what's going to take you into the cave and then what's going to take you out of the cave.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's two separate moments that have to happen. You have to go in.
Yeah.
You have to go in because if you're stuck outside of the cave just doing things, status quo, not really living up to your full potential, just kind of like, going with the motion, you need to go into the cave. You
Right.
have to have an
Right.
experience with God where you're by yourself and you're
Right.
figuring things out. But then you can't stay there. I think we think a lot of it, as you're in the cave because you're depressed or you're in the cave because you're anxious or whatever it is. But really, you're in the cave because you need rest, you need to recover from whatever life experiences
Yeah.
that
Right.
you're going
Yeah.
through. And, you get comfortable in like, okay, I'm healing, I'm getting more comfortable, I have a new community, but you have to go out and then bring those people out with you because
Right.
Right,
you
yeah.
are destined for something greater than I'm healed and I'm doing nothing with it.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because then it becomes, how long are you going to be in this cave, right? So, and I'm glad you brought up the point about coming out. And I always bring this up when people say to me, like, God knows my heart, and I'm trying. How long? Like how long? How like? And that be killing me sometimes. Like, and people be like, years. The Lord knows my heart. Well, yeah, I got you, but how long are you going to keep trying? When does your trying become success? Like, when do you say, okay, I've tried to overcome this sin, I've tried to overcome this. Okay, you've been trying for 50 years. When does your try become a success? Like, when does your try become, I mastered it, I've got it now?
I think it comes to a point where it's like a light bulb clicks off in your head. You know what I mean? Because everybody's cave situation is different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't really put a time on it. And also, a lot of times what happens is when you want to go into that cave and when you feel like you're ready, it's good to push people. Don't get me wrong. It's good to push people and see them at their best potential. But I can't want something for you more than you want it for
Exactly.
yourself.
Right,
So
right.
it may take you 50 years for it to finally click. And on that 51st year, it might finally click like, oh, this is what they've been telling me for all these years. But it might take you 5 days in that cave.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's really like the cave experience is like you said, it's an experience that is needed in order for you to come out. But when you come out, you have to be ready.
Yeah,
Because you can't go back to that cave again.
exactly.
You can't
go
go back
back to that cave, but the next cave might be
Exactly.
worse.
So that
Right.
the next case might be worse. So which means that when you come out of this one, you got to make sure that you're ready.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure that whatever you leaving in here is not coming back to your door.
Right.
So it can take, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it shouldn't take 50 years, but it can take.
It could take.
It could be 50 years, but it's all about you have to want it for yourself.
Right.
You have to want to be in that position where you can be like, you know what, I am okay.
Yeah.
Without just actually saying the words, because you're taking care of yourself. And it all comes down to self-care, and I'm such a self-care advocate
Right.
because, woo, girl, listen, self-care is really important when it comes to mental health, and I think that's the first place it starts is when
Right.
you go in that cave, okay, what can I do to help me feel good?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the questions that my therapist, she's asked me. She's like, you do everything else to make sure everybody else, but what do you do to make sure you feeling good?
Exactly.
Right.
What are you going to do to make sure that when you come out of this cave, that whatever you went in there with, depression, anxiety, nervousness, financial issues, whatever it was, school, whatever it was, when you come out of this cave, what are you going to do to change that so that never happens again?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I guess that's kind of a question that is answered individually as to everybody's certain experience.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In that cave.
And I feel like you need to, like, if you feel yourself in a cave experience, you really need to ask yourself, what brought me here? What brought me to this cave, and what do I hope to get from this experience, and where do I want to go next? Because I know we all want to be, guided by God, and I feel like that's part of the experience, but you have to be open to receiving what your next step is. Because if not, you might spend too much time in the cave.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Right. Like if, I'm depressed because I just broke up with my ex and life is going real bad and oh my gosh, woe is me. I'm going into that cave.
Right.
And what brought me to the cave is, love hurt me and I'm in this cave, I'm depressed, but maybe I just need to, focus on myself, get my nails done, get my hair done,
okay.
and I might be able to get on out the cave, right?
Okay, go read a book.
Right. So, that's not a long-term cave experience.
Right.
Like, heartache shouldn't last always. So I'm going to get myself on out of this cave, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm going in the cave because I'm failing out of school and I don't know what I want to do with my life, and does my life even have any meaning? Do I have any purpose? What's my point of being here? If I'm going in the cave with that on my mind, there's a lot more work that needs to be done when you're in the cave.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the next where I want to take this next is right. So we talked about going into the cave, and I said, you have no crutches. There's nothing else but you and God. But then David gets a community of people, but he doesn't get a clique, right? And I definitely tried to tease out as much as possible. Cliques ain't gonna work for you, right? That's just not going because a clique is a social club. They're basing your value off of what you can do for the group. A community doesn't operate like that.
Come on.
A community sees you and says, even though you're not, I still love you even though you are.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is the job of a community. And side note, if you are at a church that don't feel like a community, no shade, but you need to leave. And I'm being real with you, because a community the church is a community. The Bible says we are the body of Christ. We are one unit. He is not coming back for an individual. He's not coming back for people who are picked apart in different places and saying, I don't want to be a part of a community. It clearly says he's coming back for a church, for a community of people. And I encourage you to find a community, because a clique is just going to leave you hanging every time.
Right.
Like a clique is going to let you fall every single time because they don't have the time to cater to you. You ever seen Mean Girls? It's about cliques. Like the movie is about cliques. Like the whole premise of the movie was trying to take down the most dominant clique in the school.
You want to know what? As you get older, you realize that adulthood is a clique too.
Oh, for sure.
You do. You think that once you get out of high school, like, oh, all that, he said, she said drama, or, this group sticking together or that group sticking together. You think it's all over. Oh, nah. You got your work cliques. You got your friend cliques. You got your family cliques.
Right.
Come on, you know what I mean? So it's the same way when you get to adulthood. And that was one of the ones that stuck with me on Sunday. You have to find a community of people to help push you to that out of that cave experience. You know what I'm saying? And bring them with you. You know what I mean? A lot of people, like you said, they what can you do for them? It's never what can I do for you. And they hide behind that, oh, I'm here for you. Yeah. Oh, call me whenever you need me, friend.
Call me if you need me. No.
And then when you call them, it's, oh my God, I am so sorry. I can't da. And that's fine.
Right.
Somebody like me, that's fine. I probably will never call you again.
Right.
I probably will never call you again. But a lot of people be like, okay, well, that's just how she is. And they stick to that. Yeah. Well, that's just how she is. That's been my friend for
well,
these
that's
many
your
years.
Friend, push her to be something better. Help her elevate her reliability and accountability.
Listen, help, but they don't be.
And if that's not the case, they ain't your friend. Like, Like, I
If
think
you're gonna let me be like this forever, you are not my friend.
That's a whole sermon in
Right,
itself.
you-
A clique versus a community.
if you
Y'all want
let
that
me-
versus or?
if you let me drown, like if you let me drown, we are not friends. Like,
He can't swim. That's crazy. He
Yeah.
can't swim. He shouldn't have got
matter
in
of
the
fact,
water.
if you let me get in the water and you know I can't swim, you are.
He made that choice.
Like,
he
if-
knew
if-
he couldn't.
Right,
if-
you knew you couldn't swim though.
If everybody say we won't go on a boat ride, all right, but Ahmad can't swim, forget him. We gonna still go. No. A community of people will say,
we gonna
nah,
get you a life vest,
we
my
gonna
guy.
get him a life vest, or we ain't going. That's
We ain't wait. Hold on. Why we ain't gotta go if you can't swim though? Now don't try to, now see now that's cliquish.
That's
You
really
can't stop
cliquish.
the fun for everybody else because you can't swim.
no. That
no, we ain't gonna
okay.
go,
That was
we
equivalent to
gonna-
us
It's
talking.
only if it's your birthday.
Yeah,
okay?
if it's your birthday, then we can't go without the birthday boy. We can't go.
That's like us going to Darien Lake and y'all knowing that I hate roller coasters, and I'm okay with that.
You gotta hold all the bags.
I'm gonna hold the bags. A community also knows the weakest link, and I know I'm not strong in that area.
But a community also is gonna push you at least to try at least one.
A foolish community. A bunch of fools would tell me to get on the road.
You ain't gonna try to supersede past that. You know what? I can do this moment. You
Right.
don't want that. You don't want that. I did this moment.
I told y'all a story about the one
You
time
gonna
I did
let
it.
that fear just
let
keep
that-
holding you this
yeah.
whole time.
You know me my whole life.
trying.
We go on the road. We go on the amusement
And
parks
I'm
together.
trying.
And she's still trying.
I'm trying to push you past
You
that.
see me? She's
When
still
we,
trying. She's your community.
when we were younger, we would go to amusement parks. I would literally watch them get on the rides.
Oh my God.
And for those of you who don't know, your pastor, Bishop Bronner, would go on the rides too, and I'd be like, all y'all are some fools because
Oh my
I
God.
could not,
Heart
like,
racing,
oh,
ready to
Yeah,
go.
I want
The-
the adrenaline. I want to feel it.
the pirate ride swinging back and
Oh,
forth.
that
I said,
was my favorite
I said,
one.
no, take me
That was
home.
making me I ain't gonna lie. That used to make me a little bit queasy.
No,
Pirate
but
ride.
that's, again, a community of people will know when to help you, will know when, like, okay, there's some things you got to do on your own. That's why I said on Sunday, we can't help you through everything, but we'll love you through everything.
Right.
That's what a community would do. A clique would be like,
I'm gonna go talk bad about you.
I'm going to go talk bad about you.
He over there just in this cave. He's fucking crying.
Yeah.
Like,
He's crying all the time, bro. Is she being weird to y'all? This generation love the word weird. Is she being weird to y'all?
Right.
Like she been acting weird.
Hey, y'all
da-da-da.
she been acting mad.
Yeah, right.
different
You been acting mad
lately.
weird.
have you been in that dude's house? He been
Right.
eating cereal for the past 6 days.
Right, you mad? What do you mean I'm weird?
Right, like,
I'm going through something right now, but and sometimes, a lot of times, when people are in the cave and their clique is saying, "Oh, she being weird, she's being distant, she's being this, she's being that," but not once did one of those people ask, "Are you okay?"
Exactly.
What's going on? If you know somebody, and this is a little coin toss to y'all, if you know somebody and you like truly know them, like, oh, I've been around this person for years, I've known this person for this long, or even if it could be a short span of time, but if you feel like you know somebody and they've been acting different, or they've been, acting weird, quote unquote, as this generation says, even
Right.
though I'm part of this generation, but they've been acting weird, or they've been acting distant, or the things that they have been doing are not normal. 9 times out of 10, they're in that cave and they're waiting for somebody to realize it so that community can help them and push them. All they want you to do is say, "Yo, are you okay? Are you good?" And sometimes that's what breaks the barrier.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, "Ooh, girl, you being weird. Like, why you acting like that?" Da-da."
Right.
What do you mean? And then it becomes,
Right.
kind of like the friction starts, between people, and you finally get to see, and it's that moment in that cave that you finally get to see that, this person might not be right for me.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This, this, even though she say I could call her whenever I want to, or even though he say I can call him whenever I need him, clearly I can't, because if they haven't noticed it already, and 9 times out of 10, those people that are in the cave are usually, and I'm not saying people that aren't givers aren't in the cave, but, people that are usually in the cave are used to outpouring so much on others' lives that they just want somebody to realize that,
I need help. Too.
hey, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? But they're
Right.
afraid to say, hey,
Right, because
I
if you're
need
the
help.
strong person in your friend group, if
You
you're
know
the
what I
strong
mean?
person in your
Yeah.
family, like that is, I feel like it becomes part of your character.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're
They
like,
expect you to be strong and
exactly,
bubbly and,
exactly. They expect you to always
I
have
gotta
that
turn down
smile,
Right.
always be helpful, always be this, and you're just inside like, okay, I don't want to disappoint them, but like, yo, I need help too.
I need
Like,
help too.
Right.
somebody better check on me because this is not going well. Like, I'm going
Yeah.
further and further into the cave. And I feel like once you stop showing up for people like you always have because you're having a crisis of your own, it's that much more isolating because you realize that the people that were around you just were with you because they needed you.
Because
Right.
They needed you for what you could give them at the
Right.
moment.
Exactly.
And they weren't really with you, and that is a hard pill to swallow.
It is.
I am going to say that was a hard pill that I had to swallow. This was more so recently, is that a lot of people that I was connected to were not connected on the path that Christ had for me.
Yeah.
And it took for, I don't want to call it that cave experience, but it took for one of those moments like,
Right.
like, dang, like you done been my friend for years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, our families are close, still to this day, but I can no longer put you above me.
For myself,
Exactly.
And for a person not to understand that, and it's like, yo, you know me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know you, but clearly
You
I
don't
feel
know
like
me.
you don't know me as well as I know you.
Right.
And I think that's something that we also, like, people who are the strong person or the givers, that's something that we do to ourselves.
Ooh,
like,
we sure do. 'Cause
Yeah,
we be
of
seeing the
course.
signs,
exactly.
and I be, ooh, that be me. Lord,
And-
is you sure? Like,
Learn, like you also got to learn the power of no. Like I refuse. Like I refuse to continuously do all
Yeah.
this.
And be okay with the
Right.
consequence of that no.
Correct.
Because there is going to be a consequence. If this person is always asking you
Yeah.
for XYZ and you're like setting up boundaries now, that's going to be upsetting to them. That's changing
Oh,
their life
yeah.
experience. So
Right.
you have to be
Tearing
okay
them
with
up.
whatever comes next from that because you have to look out for yourself as number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just something important that you have to start doing as an adult.
absolutely.
Something I always say is that no one will value what you do until you stop doing it. Like no one will be like, man, you are really a
One
solid
of those
person in my.
they miss you more when you go.
But man, but then when you stop doing it, it's like, oh, I'm missing. It's something missing here. Yes, me, but me, yeah, me. That's
I don't want to say it, but
that's also because you got people who want your hand before they want your heart.
come on.
So I want your hand.
Come
I want
on.
your hand for the work. I want your hand for the handout. I want your hand, but I don't want your
Right.
heart. I don't really care what you feeling. I just want your hand.
I want what you can give to
I
me.
want what you can give to me. And then when you like, well, no, take my heart first. That's not what I had planned for us. Together, we supposed to give me the hand, and you were only supposed to care about my heart. I was never supposed to. And that's people's like. That's how people operate in a clique. Like,
Yeah.
I want your hand, not your heart.
Yeah.
And the minute when people realize there's a shift in a relationship, you are automatically the bad person.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But like, that's what I'm saying. You have to be able to
Oh.
accept the consequences of the boundaries
Right.
that you set up.
Yes.
Because yes, it might hurt in this moment. Like, oh, I thought we were on a different type of time.
Yeah.
And what is this? Why
Right.
why are you acting?
Why
weird
you
to
being
me?
weird to me? You know what I mean? That weird word again.
Why you being weird to me?
Right. Like you're the one who's upset at me, and I'm setting a boundary, and now
Right.
you're upset
Right,
with
and now
me.
you
and,
upset
oh,
with me because
wow.
I'm holding boundaries.
Exactly,
Like, what?
but you have to accept that consequence in that moment because peace is right on the other side of that.
Ooh.
You know,
It
like
is.
it's right there.
It is.
I need me like a sound effect, like a clap in the hand. Tweak that.
That it really is on the other side of it. And once you remove, and sometimes it takes for those, like you said, once those are removed from you, oh my God, how easy life flows.
Yeah. I used
Right.
to have a friend that would call me 17 times a day, just want to talk about her life, just crying about
my people know
everything,
that.
just
17
going
is a
up.
lot.
Yes, I would be.
I'm still stuck on 17.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll be in the library trying to study. I was in law school. I'm in the library trying to study.
Oh, yeah, that's
My
some
phone
serious
is
studying.
blowing up,
Oh, wow.
blowing up. I take the call like, hey, is everything all right? Yeah, I need to tell you about this. I'm like, okay, how about ask me if I'm okay? Am I available to talk? You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Right.
And then we got into a disagreement over something that she was doing. affected my life. I had to set up a boundary, and I haven't talked to her since that day.
Wow.
And it's been maybe 4 years. And I think about that all the time, like, wow, my phone is not ringing like that. Thank the Lord.
I'm gonna pull it out there, Phil. How does that feel now? How does that feel
Something
now?
is missing. Yes, me.
How does that feel
Yes,
now? No,
me.
yeah. That's a listen. I know that.
I just want y'all to know, if y'all
17
hear
times
this,
a week,
if y'all hear this in some upcoming messages, just know that it came from me. This is all original content. And if they tell you hey, this video gonna be gone after this anyway. So therefore, that piece on the other side thing,
yeah.
me.
No, it is.
Mark it
peace
down.
it is peace on the other side. It is peace on the other side. Like literally, like you will, the things that you used to worry about, and the things that when it came, because when a person does call you like that, and they kind of dump what they're feeling on top of what you're already feeling, but now you got what they're feeling. You're always gonna be like, yo, I wonder, are they okay?
Right.
I wonder what's going on. Like, is she okay? I wonder, did she resolve this? I wonder, were they able to talk it through? And then once that, you don't even, girl, I don't care.
And
What they say?
Right.
More blessings to that person. You know what I mean? Like, but it's so like you said, your phone stopped ringing. You not getting calls about this. I don't care.
And you become okay with
And
their
it's like
absence.
it's not saying I don't care in a bad way. Like I don't care how you're feeling, or I don't care, what you're going through. But it's just that I don't care enough to let it bring my peace.
Exactly.
down.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Because at this point, I've prioritized my own peace, my own sanity, my own happiness, and whatever you have going on, I wish you well, I truly do, but I got to preserve this because this is a good feeling.
And you want to know what? A lot of times, too, we are married to our friendships.
Right.
And we have to realize that this ain't no real marriage.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. You treat every friendship holds a different, status in your life. But a lot of times, and by married, I mean that when we take on what they're feeling, when we try to appease them, when we try to make sure that they're good, we have to realize you're not my significant other.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm not married to you.
I don't need to put myself,
I don't need
you before
exactly.
Right.
So when we start to realize that, yo, you know what? I need to start prioritizing things a little bit different. And right now, you're not at the top of my priority list. I'm sorry that this is what it had to come to, and I hate that it. But if you can't realize that, if your friend can't realize, and another coin I'm tossing out.
Get a sound effect like a coin tossing on the floor.
Yeah, a coin tossing on the floor. If you're telling your friend that you have to now set boundaries when it comes to the friendship, or things have to move different, if they can accept that, run for the hills.
Right.
Because if you try to continue to appease them, it's never going to work.
Right.
I'm not married to you. Why am I giving you marriage qualities and you're not the one that I got to worry about at the end of the night?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And sometimes people I understand we take friendships very seriously, but I'm not saying that you don't have to, but sometimes you have to take yourself seriously before
Right.
you can take a friendship seriously.
Right.
And sometimes we don't. We put ourselves on the back burner, and it's just like, you know what, that's my friend. I got to be there for them. I got to do this. I got to do this. Even though I'm not in the right headspace, I got to be there for them because I know they probably, worse than me, or, I know they going through it because this is what they telling me every day. But friends don't realize that when they call you like that, I bet you she didn't ask you, like you said, how are you doing?
Exactly.
Can I dump my feelings on you the way you dumping them on me? No,
Right.
that you need to let that friend go.
Exactly.
And go find a friend that you can, go find a community that you can do that, that you can do
It
that
has to
with.
be mutual. There has to be, it's not like you have to get something from every friend, but you need them to hold space for you the same way that you would hold space for them.
Yeah,
And if they don't, if someone is not willing to do that, 9 times out of 10, they're not your friend.
Right.
So,
And also, like, God calls us to be stewards of things, right? Stewards of your finances, stewards over your family, and steward over yourself, right? Like you have to take care of yourself, and that's, God is all about self-care. If you ain't know that, when Elijah said, "I want to die," he gave that man a snack and he told him to take a nap. God is all about this. He said,
Now you cutting up.
he said, go on, lay down real quick.
Go on, take a
Je-
nap.
hey, you have some other things
Right.
to do. I'm gonna need you to get this
Yeah.
Snickers bar and go
Right.
lay down.
Like a parent, yeah. Go eat a Snickers.
Eat a Snick-
Eat
You're not like yourself.
Eat a Snickers.
You're not like
acting
yourself right now. You are not like yourself. Eat this
Wow.
Snickers bar real quick,
Yeah.
Elijah. Come back to me in a day or two. Same thing with Jesus. Jesus said, "This storm is going on. I'm gonna take a nap."
I'm taking
Jesus
that.
slept in the bottom of the boat.
You
They're
want to
like,
know what? And one thing about it, though, when something going crazy in my world, I'm gonna take a
Take a
nap.
nap.
Like, you know what? I'm gonna just wake up and we gonna try this again. Like, let me see if a little sleep will help. You know, maybe that. Lord might be telling me something, right?
Exactly.
He might be telling me something.
In green, he lays me down in green pastures. Oh man, like take a nap. That's all. It's like find rest for yourself from like it's okay to like take a break from people, take a break from relationships, take a break from social media, take a break from every area of your life so that way you can come back recharge. Yeah. Like you cannot pour in empty. You can't. And guess what? Absolutely. And something that Bishop Brown said to me about 2 months ago, he said an empty container makes the most noise. A person who is empty will say the most. A person who has nothing to offer will always try to say something and say.
Right there.
Like an empty container is gonna make the most noise.
Right there.
Like because they're trying to act like there's something of substance in them when there's not. So don't be an empty container making noise. Take time for yourself, get rest, be replenished, be refilled, so that way you can be a necessary asset to every area of your life.
Nah, because I'm thinking of right now, like this is kind of random, but like a glass jar and it has 2-3 pennies in it, and you're shaking it, it's making so much noise. But if it's stacked to the top, it does not.
You don't hear nothing.
Noise.
Don't hear nothing.
No noise.
Don't hear nothing.
Because they're full.
They're full.
Full.
That's a message right there.
That came from me, not Bishop Brown.
Point toss,
that came from me,
right there,
and not
man.
Bishop Matthew Brown. I don't know who that guy is. But like you, like an empty container will make the most noise, and that's matter of fact. To go back to the series that we just wrapped up about the in-between places, that's what Saul was to David. Saul was an empty container making a lot of noise in David's life. Right. Saul didn't have the spirit no more. Saul didn't have the anointing anymore. So now he tried to do anything necessary to make sure that David was not confident in who he was, which is a perfect segue into the last portion of the sermon from Sunday when I said that you have to have confidence in the word, right? Like, truth be told, it's crazy that we are people who can receive a word from God and then we start living in it and then we're like, I don't think he'll do the next thing he told me he was going to do. Isn't that crazy that you can live in the word he gave you and then not believe him for the next word he gave you?
But I think it's also because it's
crazy, but it's true.
Once your one need is satisfied, you kind of you're living on a high, and I'm not even looking back. I'm not. God did that for me, and I'm off. Yeah. But there's going to be something else, and now I have to build it back up. I got to
keep going.
Yeah.
That it's once you can't just God is one for one. You can't just stop at one blessing. Right. You know what I mean?
No.
So it's like you can't. It might be the smallest thing, and that might be so big to somebody, but you're so focused on this one thing that he sent you. He was like, I really just sent you that to see if you was ready. Right. But clearly
you're not ready.
You're not ready.
And you have to go back into waiting.
Come on, because if you're second guessing what I already sent you, you're not ready for what I really have in store for you. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like can you imagine like you're living in the word I gave you, and then you're like, I really doubt he gonna come through the next time. Like this must be a one-off for him. Like and God's like, are you serious? Are you like serious? You living in what I told you and you don't believe me for the next thing? And then God is like, if you just believe me for everything. Like, can you imagine? Like I've been saying this all year. Like my faith's been on 100. Like I've been doing some random things and just seeing if it'll stick. Literally everything. Do you know? I'm be honest about my job, right? I tried different things here at ELIM. I'm be honest. I'm be so honest. I tried different like graphics. I tried different video styles. I have no clue if it's gonna work, but all I know is my faith was on 100. God gonna find a way for, and then it happens.
Right, because I can do all things.
I can do I can.
But you really gotta believe that.
Right.
And a lot this fear word is y'all. That's been my mantra all year. Letting my faith be bigger than my fears. And one of my daily prayers is, Lord, continue to let my faith be bigger than my fears. Because sometimes you do get into that place where you do receive a little bit of what He's saying, and that's the reality of the situation. You know, realistically, you receive that blessing. It's like, oh yeah, like I've been asking for this. Finally, it's here. Like what's up? It's up and it's stuck. What's up? And then it's like you so focused on that. It's like, okay. When you finally come down for that high, okay, what else you got for me? Oh, nah, you ain't ready, sis. Like, what you was too busy focused on that you weren't preparing yourself for the next thing that He had.
Right.
So you have to continue to, you know what, Lord, continue to let my faith be bigger than my fears. I'm just going to trust you because whatever it is, I know whatever it is, whether it's big or small, it's going to be good for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's going to be good for me. And once we get out of the cave, we get so happy that we're out of the cave that move forward, we don't even get there yet. We be too stuck on, you know what, I'm out. Like, I'm not depressed anymore. Yeah. I'm not anxious no more. I'm not nervous no more. Like, we outside. We here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling good. I'm looking better. But, and then it's like,
what do I do?
Right.
Because you didn't ask.
You didn't ask those
cave.
questions.
Right.
You didn't ask those questions.
On a high. You're on a high at that point.
Woo,
like, eventually, like.
Right, because you ever been crying for 5-6 days in a row, and on the 7th day you're not crying. So I'm like, okay.
On a high.
Okay.
On a
That's
high.
you know what that is? That is church, people. You Monday through Saturday, you struggling. Oh, this is such. Oh, look at the
That's
Lord.
and then on
oh
Sunday,
my God! And then Sunday you leave church. Oh,
Monday,
Lord. Oh,
It's Monday again.
because you've treated God like a drug. God is now your drug, and you're like, you know what? This is pretty nice.
Yeah.
This is nice right here. I'm happy. We dancing around the sanctuary, and you get home. Oh, my light bill ain't paid. Oh, and then you go right back to where you are because unfortunately for Christians, right, and especially for those who are stuck in the routine of church, right. And I always say this that the Bible says run your race, right. That's what the Bible says in Hebrews, run the race of faith that's been put before you. And I always say this, we have a tendency of looking at other people like, man, that person running their race very well. Little do you know that person's on the treadmill called church. They come to church and they look good because they have a consistent speed, a consistent elevation, but you never catch them off the treadmill. You never catch them off that treadmill. But when you begin to look at your own journey and say, man, I got confidence that God is going to make a way. Yeah. I've got confidence that God is going to see me through. It's not a high no more. Now you're living in a certain level of confidence.
You're living in your truth.
Right.
You're living in your truth. If your eyes are on God, you don't really need to look what the next person is doing.
Right.
You're not even going to see what they're doing.
And you want to know what's crazy? It happens more often than you think. Once you start getting to that moment where it's, you know what, I got confidence in God that He'll work it out. He will make a way. And it's those, you know what, it be those subtle moments when you in the car like, I know that wasn't nobody but God. You know what I'm saying? It's so, but because you have that confidence, like, ooh, because I know I couldn't have did that by myself. You know what I'm saying? That was nobody but God. But you have faith and you have that confidence that I don't even got to worry about it no more. Like, I want my faith, and I'm still growing, but I want my faith to be at that level where, you know what, it's straight. It's straight. I don't even got to worry about it no more because He got it.
And you got to have the ability to believe God when you can't see Him. Ooh. Like, you got to be like, you know what, I can't trace you, but I can definitely trust you. And, God will give you just enough light to see the next step.
Yeah.
The hallway is dark, but He's like, I can give you just enough to see the next step. For you to keep going. And that's where David was. David was like, you know what? I'm in this cave. My family's taken care of, but I got these 400 men with me. And the prophet's like, you gotta leave. Like, you have to leave. And he leaves and he goes to face Saul again. But maybe I'm probably going too far along because I'm not gonna revisit this again. Just so you know, that series is over, so I'm not gonna revisit that again. But But
we'll talk about it again if we want.
None of you are paying attention to what I've been doing on Sundays. But David faces Saul again. And when he has an opportunity to kill him, he doesn't. When you trust God, you don't have to get out of character.
Okay.
Like when, scratch that. We coming back to that again.
That's a coin toss.
When you trust God, you ain't like, you won't ever see me like get out of character. Like when an enemy is like on your back, you like, man, this is getting tough. Because I trust God's vengeance. Yeah. When I trust God will make a way, I'm like, I don't even got to sweat it. I don't have to get out of character. You don't even see me raise my voice because I know if I ain't going to take care of you, my Father going to take care of you.
Absolutely.
Like, and when you have that kind of confidence, can't nothing shake you.
That's true.
I mean, and also, like, you have to be okay with God saying, all right, that person did you wrong, but I'm still going to bless them.
Right.
Because that's my child too.
Right.
They're faithful in their own journey. They might have hurt you, but
they ain't did nothing to me.
Right. And I'm gonna talk about this a little bit on Sunday. But that's why Psalm 23 says he prepares a table before me at the presence of my enemies. Do you know your enemies eat too?
Yeah.
They just got a different menu than you because they have different needs than you.
And your enemy in a social sense is not your enemy in a spiritual sense.
Not at all.
So while
Yeah.
you're thinking like, okay, that person is terrible, but I see they're elevating in their life. They got love that's good to them. They have money coming in.
And it's like, more blessings
exactly.
to you.
Right.
I'm happy. And the crazy thing is, like, I'm happy for you because sometimes, maybe now they might realize that because God is blessing them in a way that, you know what, maybe I was wrong.
Right.
And it's okay. Now we're at the point where, like you said, he went back to Saul, to fight Saul. I can go back and face that demon because now I am okay with what's happened. I'm okay with the boundaries that I set. I'm okay and I'm confident in what God is going to do next. So I can face you. I can face that friend. I can face that family member. I can face the depression. I can face the anxiety. You know what? Because I know that God is confident. I'm confident in God and he's going to make a way.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, and you know, that friend might be like, you know what? I'm sorry, friend. I did you wrong.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If your friend call you back, you going to answer?
No, girl.
Oh, some situations is just left.
Yeah, that number is
Coin
not
toss.
available anymore. No thanks.
Some situations you do got to leave too.
We got
though.
to.
And also, forgiveness does not equal reconciliation.
Come on.
Put
Coin
that on you.
toss.
Because I forgive you, I ain't got to rekindle.
Yeah, I don't.
The Bible reminds us we have to forgive because our Father forgave us. But I do not have to give you the same access I gave you before. I do not have to grant you the same, because I forgave you. I don't have to give you the same access. That's not how God told me to operate. God said, "Forgive, and then I will reconcile them back to myself." That's God. So I've done my part. Now the healing, that's God's part, right? Because if I believe God to be a healer and a comforter and all those things, then I trust that he will heal my broken heart from what that person did to me. I believe that he will help me through whatever that I've felt and I faced, because, back to what I said, just because an enemy is close don't mean I have to get out of character. When I have confidence in God, I can remain who I am. I can remain how I've been operating. I don't have to go crazy because I'm seeing different things happen in my enemy's life. And I want you to know, you ain't got no enemies.
Right, but the thing that I was trying to say before is the person that did you wrong is not your enemy.
It's not your enemy.
That is okay. Let's put it in a church situation. Okay, the church did you wrong. These members did you wrong. That person is not your enemy.
Right.
Whatever situation that they're dealing with that's making them, act that way towards you, that's something that they're dealing with. These are people that are imperfect. Those are just people. That's not your enemy. They might have hurt you.
They children of God too.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We are all children of the Most High, but I really do. We need that button, man. Forgiveness. That just stuck with me. Does not require you to have access to me.
Exactly.
Because I'm not forgiving you for you.
Right.
I'm forgiving you for me.
So that I have
because
peace
in order
on the other side.
so that I have peace on the other side. So, and a lot of times people think that just because somebody forgives them or they don't talk about the situation anymore and they might, just move on with life, that it's like animosity, or like you said, we're enemies. Or no, but I am now out of that cave.
Exactly.
I am a new person out of that cave.
Right.
So the same person that you had access to while I was in that cave, you no longer have access to become a whole different person.
Yeah.
So why would I bring something back that brought me to that point?
Exactly.
Why would I want to bring that back? Just because I forgive you don't mean I got to bring you back in my life, because you might bring me back to that cave, and I'm not trying to go back there.
I mean, if you've ever rekindled something with an ex, they put you with. Come on, they put you in that cave.
You see me like,
They put you
There
in
it
that
is.
cave.
there it is.
You forgave them, but that doesn't eliminate. That doesn't eliminate what put you in the cave. And now you're like, okay, now I gotta put this behind me so that I can try to do this again.
Right.
But all I'm doing is letting my past creep up on me.
You letting them get back. You letting them get back on your back.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
And you know what else gets you in the
back on your
cave?
back.
Yeah.
You know what else gets you in your cave? Failure and regret. So one of my favorite passages in the Bible, from John 19. John 21. Jesus is out on the Sea of Galilee, and the disciples are out there fishing. They had just denied him 3 times. They had just left him hanging at the cross. They said, this dude ain't never getting up off out that situation. We are out of here. So they're now all sitting on the sea.
Like, that's crazy.
They all sitting on the sea just sad and depressed. And they out fishing, and Jesus appears on the shore, right? And Peter's fishing. He says, I know that ain't who I think it is.
Right.
He like, oh, nah. So he get off the boat, and Jesus gets on the boat with him. And he says, okay, I want you guys to go fishing. They've been fishing all night and caught nothing. Jesus gets in the boat with them, and they immediately catch everything. And he says to Peter later on in that chapter, he says to him, in other words, he says, they're gonna kill you the same way they killed me. He says, but the next time you see a cross, you're gonna handle it better. The first time he saw a cross, which is Jesus' cross, he denied him 3 times. Yeah. He made every single mistake in the book. But Jesus says, the next time you see that situation, you're going to make a better decision. You're going to make this time you're really going to glorify me. And that's what failure is like. God will be like, I'm going to let you get up again. But this time, the next time you see this thing, the next time you experience that ex, the next time you experience that relationship, you're going to do what is necessary to glorify me.
And the reality is, it might not be the next time. It might be the time after that.
You make it 10 times.
Yeah, you keep trying.
And that's what we call grace.
Woo!
And that's what we call grace, my friends.
Because some situations,
you want it to work so bad.
You do, you know.
I'm like, I'm persevering in this.
Yeah,
right.
I'm making it work.
Yeah, and most of the times it's like you can see the potential that a person or a situation has for you, and it's like, yo, I gotta make this stick. I gotta make this work. And like you said, I think you said this to me before. Like I really don't believe in wrong place, wrong time. Because if it was meant for you at that time, God would have made it happen for you at that time. You know what I mean? So it's just like
anything meant for me can't pass me by.
Come on, you know what I'm saying? And like if it's meant for you, you gotta make it spin the block again. You know what I mean? But 9 times out of 10, it's not because he didn't feel like it wasn't meant for you, but you may not have been ready to handle that situation the right way.
Right.
Exactly.
Sometimes you might have to take those cave moments, and when you come out, you know, when you're in there, ask yourself those questions. So when you come out, you can be a better version of yourself, and you can be prepared that if God is going to make that man or that job or that situation spin the block again, you are prepared and you're ready. You are now a soldier. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They like the Army or the Navy or anything, they prepare you for battle.
Exactly.
You go into training. You go into boot camp. That's what the cave is. It's the training and the boot camp for whatever God has for you next. You know what I'm saying? Or for whatever you're pushing for next.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to train your mind, you have to train your heart, you have to train yourself in order to be able to handle that situation the right way and in the right capacity for when it comes back around again.
Because I feel like sometimes we just beg God to just give us what we want, Like, I have to have this right now, God. Like, I don't even think I can make it till tomorrow if you don't give this to me now. And sometimes God gives it to us just to show us we're not ready.
Right.
You dropped the ball.
Right. I fumbled the bag.
Fumble. That goes back to when I talk about the pasture, right? We so anxious to get somewhere, and then we get it, and we like, I done fumbled the bag.
Right. I don't even know what to do. I don't have the infrastructure to do this. Like, I can't.
And also, just want to put this out here. Never let your supposed fleshly maturity make you think you have the proper spiritual maturity. God, don't ever put me somewhere that my spiritual maturity is not there yet. Don't you ever put me somewhere where my spiritual maturity is not matched up to where it needs to be. Because if it does, I'm going to fumble the bag every single time. In your flesh, you be like, I can handle that. I can do that. And then once you get the opportunity, fumble in the bag.
You be like, sis, what are you doing?
You know what? I don't even know.
I don't even know. Like, but it takes for that. Sometimes it takes for you to realize that, yo, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, now it's time for me to reach out to my community and ask for help.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it's time for me to, okay, God, I'm sorry. I clearly I wasn't ready like I thought I was ready. So you know what? Equip me with what I need to be ready.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel like some people in that moment give up.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
all right, I started this business. It was popping for like 2 days, and then no more customers, no more nothing. People stopped calling, and
God help me through the honeymoon phase.
She's stepping on my toes. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. That used to be me. I just start something to stop.
God help me through the
Instead of going
honeymoon
back to
phase.
the drawing
Help me through the
board,
honeymoon phase,
instead of building the infrastructure you need, you give up. And there goes the blessing God gave you.
Right.
I said, this is it for you. You could do something amazing. You could do something great with this. And it got a little bit too hard, and you threw it on back.
Imagine what would have happened.
Let your fear conquer you.
Imagine what would have happened if Noah just decided I ain't gonna build this ark no more, because
that would have been me. That's a little bit too much building.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the flood comes and the ark is not finished?
All we got is 2
50
cubits.
cubics.
We just got these 2 pieces of wood. Everybody get off.
You know what? This is all I can find out.
Right.
People. I don't know if
Is Lowe's open? What you mean?
church get a discount.
We can rent a boat, right? We can rent one.
We gotta figure something out, man. Because I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put this into your hands because I can't really handle it.
Right.
But sometimes you want to know what? That's okay though. That's okay. But you have to. It's like you said. Make me spiritually mature to know that I can't handle it. So I have to put it in somebody else's hands. I gotta ask somebody else, because a lot of times people don't like to ask for help because they feel like, oh, you have to need this person, or you don't want that person to throw it back in your face. But sometimes they gotta be like, I don't even care if you do, because at that point in time, I needed help.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm a person that's not afraid to ask. If I don't know, I'm gonna ask. If I don't know the answer to the question, I'm gonna ask. If I need, can you help me? Like, that's just me personally.
Exactly.
I know I get a little lazy sometimes, and I'm not doing stuff by myself if I ain't got to. I can just ask for somebody. You know why? That's like, why would I pay? Why would I wash my car, right? Not knowing I don't know what I'm doing. And the folks at Delta Sonic getting paid to wash cars because they're getting trained to know what they're doing. So you know what? Let me go ask for help. You put it in that same scenario. Don't try to, we try to kind of fill our cup up too much where it starts to overflow, but we can't handle the overflow because the overflow is not from God.
Right.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
because we have this big grandiose sense of
Yeah.
self.
Right.
I can do anything. That's
And you can, but you got to have the right tools to do
I can do anything through God.
Right.
I can't do anything through my own hands because I'm going to try.
Come on.
Exactly.
Don't be working out.
I'm going to have my hands on a lot of things, and they are going to fall apart because
Lord
that
help me.
wasn't through God.
Right. And that goes back to, again, putting things in God's hands and stop checking up on it. Like, always remember, God's hands are bigger than yours. Like the little boy who goes to the candy store. Go to the candy store and he says, hey, you want some candy? Get a handful of candy. And he said, the guy asked him 3 times. He says, nah, I'm straight. He says, nah, I really don't want no candy. And the man says, boy, go ahead and get some candy. And the store owner himself grabs the candy out the jar and hands it to the little boy. The mother asked the boy in the car, why did you grab the candy? He said, because his hands were bigger than mine.
I know, yeah, see, smart. You know what
His
I mean?
hands were bigger than mine. So since his hands were bigger than mine, I would have gotten more. When you let God put his hands on you, when you let God put his hands on your life, you'll always end up with more than what you can ever handle.
Right.
But that, again, comes from having confidence in him, confidence in the word, confidence and just knowing that God is a man of his word. Like, he literally, it goes against God's nature to break his promises. And even though, like I said a couple weeks ago during our Father's Day service, listen, other people in your life have failed you. Other people in your life did not make you a priority. But it is God's job to literally take care of you.
Yeah.
So when you trust that and when you know that, your faith will always, like I said, be on 100.
Right.
Your faith will always be on 100 because you now know it's God's job to take care of me. Like I have someone to always depend on.
Yeah, and then you'll see those continuous blessings. It won't just be that one high. It'll be an all-time high every time. You know what I mean? Like you just keep, okay, you showing out. That's what I be like God, you showing out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's a continuous, and it's the little things, it's continuous blessings. But we also have to be mindful that even though you're in the, don't wait until you get into the cave to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to stop doing as a community period. I'm not even just going to say the black community, but people in general, a community period. We have to stop waiting until we get into the cave or until we're in that rock bottom situation to ask God for help, to finally surrender and to finally, build those boundaries. Nah, you gotta start now. You know what I mean? And it takes for, and this is, kind of like my perspective, my opinion, it takes spiritual growth to get to that point.
Yeah.
Right.
To be able to thank God in those in-between stages or at those rock bottom stages. It takes spiritual growth, and sometimes it takes for you to be in that, okay, you know what? You got me here, God, so I
Exactly.
need you, but you know what? I'm gonna make sure that whatever I do, I'm always gonna need you. But I'm gonna make sure that you're at the forefront, and I'm gonna set these boundaries, and I'm gonna allow you to lead. Because 9 times out of 10, we try to lead our life, it does not go the way we plan, and that's exactly why. Because you're the one trying to, the one trying to lead.
All the
You know
time.
what I mean?
Right.
You gotta let the master, let the creator lead you to where you're supposed to go. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we like you said, I got it, I can do it. You know
Yep.
what I mean? I don't need nobody else. Independent woman over here, independent black woman at that. I don't need.
Writing a
you
check
need
you
help,
can't
sis.
cash.
Yeah, you need help, sis, and it's okay to need help.
Right.
It is okay to need help. There's no problem with asking for help. I don't see no problem with it, but a lot of people do feel like
Yeah.
when they have to ask somebody for something that it's a problem because they're gonna throw this back in my face, or you know what I'm
That,
saying?
and then that goes back to that not being your community.
Right. That's not your community.
Yeah, that's not your
Because-
community.
You know, people who love and support you are not going to continuously
Throw-
throw back
Right.
back into your face that, oh, I helped you with this, and you know, you're not giving me credit for that, and it's just like, you know,
Yeah.
did you help me because you love me or because you wanted me to write you a
Exactly.
check, or
Right.
like, what's the situation?
And when you come to that Diana Ross, I'm coming out stage, you don't even gotta worry about nobody throwing it back in your face.
Right.
Like I don't care.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Go ahead.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Throw it back at
Throw
me.
it back at
I'm
me.
glad you helped me.
Exactly.
Right.
I did.
I
I
was,
did.
I was going to thank you if you waited about 5 more seconds. I was
Right.
going to thank
Right.
you.
Right. I was gonna give you a shout out,
But now,
You acted kind of funny.
And-
you ain't
and-
you acting weird. You being weird to me.
you be aware. And also, right, you gotta be okay. You gotta be okay with those who are and those who aren't. Right? We always look for a certain person to do something, a certain thing to do that.
Yeah.
Learn how to love those who love you. Right? I'm not telling you not to love everybody, right? Because that's unchristian like. Should always be kind, always show love, but be grateful for those who dancing with you at the party.
Right.
Do not waste the party wondering why this person didn't come.
Exactly. Stop seeking it from somebody who's
Right.
not giving it to you.
What did Whitney Houston say? I want to dance with somebody who loves
Ooh, that's
me.
my favorite.
I want to dance with somebody, but with someone who loves me. And that's really the root of a community.
Yeah.
People who dancing with you because they love you, because they support you, because they care about you.
Come on, Pastor Rye.
That is why we need community. That's what church is for.
Mm.
Shoot me if you have to. Don't. But I'm saying,
Sweet.
let's be real.
Shoes up.
This is what church is for. You come to church to be with people who love you. That's why the Bible says iron sharpens iron. You sit in your house getting dull every day because you ain't got nobody else to rub up against. Because you need someone there to say, I got you, I love you, we'll get through this. My favorite quote is, I cannot help you through everything, but I will love you through everything.
Yeah.
And that is why David said, you know what, as long as I got these 400 men, I'm going to be all right.
I'm good.
So time is winding down for us. We're going to end here. So any last words from any of you before we close out?
Give me a minute. Just really, I just feel like we're not done. I feel
Right.
like there's so
It's-
much more we
there's a
could
lot
touch
more
on.
to
You know what I
say.
mean? There's a lot of things we could say, but I feel like this was a great discussion. I hope it was an eye opener for anybody that was listening, and for those that are you feel like you're in that cave right now, it is going to be okay. I promise you. And I know you're probably tired of people saying that, because sometimes when you're in a cave, you're tired of somebody saying it's going to be okay when you feel like you're not okay. But the reason why that a person is probably keep telling you it's going to be okay, because it is going to be okay. You just have to believe it for yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody can want it more than you want it for yourself. So if you want to get out of that depressive state, if you want to get out of that bad relationship, if you want to get out of being anxious and being nervous all the time, you can do it. You can do it. But you have to start with you. You got to, if you're in that cave, take that cave seriously. You know what I'm saying? Take it seriously and really ask those questions. What brought me to this cave?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do when I get out of this cave? What is going to be my next step? How am I going to get out of this cave? You know what I'm saying? And how I'm going to take care of myself moving forward. Set those boundaries for yourself and just, move forward. But it's going to be all right. Might not seem like it might be all right tomorrow. You might be listening to Mary J. Blige right now. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember them cave days. It was going down. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but on the other side, it will be a brighter day, as Kirk Franklin says.
Right.
And you will smile again. But you just gotta take those cave moments, take them seriously, and really put the work in. Right. You know what I'm saying? Don't just get in the cave and be complacent and get comfortable. Right. Really put the work in to come out on the other side, glorious, and it'll work out. You'll be okay. And if you're not okay,
talk to somebody.
Talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. A therapist, your pastor, a friend that you know loves and supports you for the decisions that you make, not because of what you can do for them.
Or appropriate member of your community.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it's okay to reach out to somebody you've never reached out before.
Mm-hmm.
You need to reach out to me. I got you.
Exactly.
Yes, we'll post her phone number right after this show.
Please don't.
17 calls.
May have to
17.
change my number again. I'm like, you change it again, girl. Call me.
She made a mistake and told all these people.
I thought you said call me. You can call me. But I got boundaries now, y'all. I'm out the cave. I got boundaries now. You can call me, but I got boundaries now. You know what I mean? It ain't go. Yeah, I'm still taking care of me. You know what I mean? Self-care Saturday coming up. I'm still taking care of me.
Right.
Yeah, and indulge in self-care. Really, start with yourself. It could be as simple as reading a book. It could be as simple as watching your favorite TV show, eating your favorite meal, starting new hobbies, going for a walk, anything. Start taking care of yourself, because once you start with just one something, it'll roll over and it'll become a whole new you. And you'll love it.
Things have changed. And
ooh. Hey, life is, listen, okay, and life is sunny side up. Yeah. Peace is on the other side.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You done? You got nothing else?
I'm done.
You tapped out?
I'm not tapped out, but you told me the time
you
was
running
down.
Yeah, you said
so
the time was running down, so we
I don't
had
want to.
Okay. Well, we will be back next Wednesday at 6:30.
6:30, yes.
Yeah, we had a little technical difficulties today, but 6:30 we will be back. Next week we don't have Thrive next week, but join us on July 17th at 6 p.m. For our Night of Hope. We will be having a worship service with our friends and brothers and sisters at 8 Days of Hope. So we do hope that you join us on that day at 6 p.m. right here at the ELIM Christian Fellowship Church, located at 70 Chalmers, Buffalo, New York, 14214, where T. Anthony Bronner is the senior pastor. Once again, we thank you for joining us. We hope that this was beneficial to you. We hope that there was something that you could walk away from and can carry with you until we meet again next Wednesday. God now give us the joy of Christmas, the resurrection of Easter, but most of all, the power of Pentecost. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, we say thank you and good night. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
See you next
Keep
week.
thriving, y'all.
Yes.
Keep thriving.
Come thrive
Here.
here.
You feel me?
Yeah.
I see y'all. Good night.